Hey guys, what's going on? Today we are looking at a new webcam from a company called Obsbot, the Tiny 2 Lite. This camera comes in at only about $280. It's got pan, tilt, and zoom, 4K 30 recording, can do active tracking so it can follow you around the room with gimbal technology, some built-in mics. Overall, just a really solid value webcam, which I'm always all about because it means it's more accessible to more people for content creating, streaming, doing their side hustles, or just their Zoom meetings, whatever it might be. And it gives you definitely a big upgrade over your webcam that comes maybe on your laptop. So today we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of different cameras, different pros and cons with all of them. But more specifically, if you don't want to invest with a DSLR, which can cost, sometimes like $1,000, then getting something like this Tiny 2 Lite might be the way to go. If you guys have any comments or questions about the content or the camera, let me know down in the comment section. Chuck it a like if you enjoyed it. Get subscribed if you want to see more, and let's begin. Now, before we get into talking about the camera and the specifications and features, I just want to talk about lighting for 2 seconds and show you guys what my setup is like with my lights, because lighting is something that's quite often not talked about, and I think it needs to be discussed maybe a little bit more, because there's not going to be a camera out there that's going to compensate for just bad lighting in the room, especially if you don't have a room with a lot of natural light. So I've got 2 lights here from a brand called Neewer. These lights are about $100 each. They're powered on little poles, and I think this lighting setup is quite achievable for most people, and it's a really good long-term investment. You can turn the temperature up or down, the light or the brightness up or down as well, and I think if you've got good lighting, that does a lot more than having a really expensive webcam with really bad lighting. Like, you got to find that balance. Like, I'm not a camera professional or anything like that, but I do know that you need some good lighting, and I think these lights from Neewer, should be something that you consider getting if you're taking content creation or streaming somewhat seriously, rather than just using the light that's in your room. Now, when you look at all the cameras on the screen, we've got a few different options here. We've got a DSLR option from Sony for $1,000 plus. We've got the old, when I say old, the Tiny 2, the original, for $519. We've got the Facecam Pro, which is actually recording in 4K 60 right now, for $499, but it doesn't do anything else in terms of pan, tilt, and zoom, and it really doesn't look very nice with my face. It's got quite, a glossy look to it. And then you've got the Tiny 2 Lite for $279, which I think looks probably the most balanced and reasonably priced and has good features as well. So personally, unless I was going to go the DSLR route, I'd probably cap out and buy the Tiny 2 Lite for $279 rather than those other options. But I want to know from you guys. Hit me up in the comments and tell me which one do you think looks best, and also which one would you actually buy in the real world. Now, in terms of software that comes with the camera for free from the website, this is the Obsbot Center. So there's a couple different sections here that we're going to quickly run through. So in the console, you can do all of your tracking settings for when you want to move around the room. You've got your presets. So if you want to have it set at different positions, you can adjust the camera using the gimbal by just, clicking and dragging the control around like so. You've got your different zoom presets. Then in the image settings, you've got your shutter speed controls. If you don't want to do automatic, you can adjust that. So I've got it set to 1/60 with 800 being my ISO. Same goes for the white balance. I've got it set to 4500 kelvins, which is what my lights are set to. And then we've got the contrast, saturation, sharpness, brightness, all that good stuff, so you can play around and make it look exactly how you want it to look. Then in more, you've got settings here for the device for when it's going to go to sleep. You've got your tracking controls, so you can actually do gestures to the camera to make it follow you around the room, or zoom, which is really helpful when you may be operating without a keyboard and a mouse and you're presenting maybe in a classroom or in front of a whiteboard or something like that. And then you've got some interesting features here. There's one called Beauty. So with Beauty, you can actually turn on a bokeh effect, which is basically blurring out the background like so. And if you've got a NVIDIA GPU in your computer, you can actually install the NVIDIA Studio SDK, I believe it's called, and you can go into the advanced section and you can really go crazy with the that blur effect and get much better control. And I believe it's using maybe some of the AI capabilities of the GPU, which is quite nice. Then you've got a retouch option, which I'm not going to play around with too much. You can see here on the screen what you can do with it. So if you want to maybe go ahead and tone your skin or do something like that, you can play around. If you want to add some slimming effects, I'm not looking at the screen, but you get the idea. And then you've also got some filters here as well. So you can can add different presets. You know, some people like filters, some people don't, but I mean, it's at least there so you can play around with it. But I do like personally the blur effect that you can add. So if you don't have your own, I don't know, really nice DSLR to get that effect, you can do it within the software from OBSBot. Now, in terms of microphone quality, you're currently hearing me through the microphone on the OBSBot Tiny 2 Lite. It definitely sounds pretty much like every other microphone that I've heard on a webcam, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I think if you're in a classroom or in a conference room, it's going to be acceptable to the point where people are going to be able to hear you on the other end and hear you clearly. Now, a cool party trick with this webcam obviously is the pan, tilt, and zoom and the gesture control. So now if I throw up my hand like this, there's a little green light on the camera that goes to blue to tell me that it's now in that tracking mode. So if I stand up and move my chair out of the way, it should be basically following me around the room like so. Now, another cool trick is if I basically get my left hand here and make a gesture to sort of be like zoom in, so like this, it should hopefully zoom in. Voila, like that. So if you're teaching a classroom, you've got a whiteboard behind you or something like that, this could be a really nice way of being able to interact with the people on the other end without necessarily having to go back and forward to the mouse to maybe move the camera around to sort of show what you're trying to look at. And again, if I do that gesture one more time, it's going to zoom back out. So if I come back to my desk now and come and pull my chair in and sit down, it's going to follow me and keep everything hopefully centered on my face and my upper body, meaning, you know, a little bit more of an interesting piece of content, or, you know, much more engaging for the people on the other end. So pretty cool feature. I definitely like it. And the fact that you get all of this bundled in at such a low price point, I mean, I kind of sound like I'm getting paid to say this, but honestly, I just genuinely feel like this is such a good camera for the money. Now, guys, that's pretty much it for this video. Hopefully, I've covered everything, but if there's maybe something that I've missed, hit me up in the comment section down below. I'll do my best to get back to you guys, but I think everyone at the OBSBot team has done a fantastic job with this camera, making it really accessible, such a good price point of only about $280 here in Australia. Lots of good features. It all works really well. The sensor's great, 4K 30 recording. I mean, there's not more that you can really pack into a camera at this particular price point, unless you're wanting to spend, you know, $1,000 plus and go up to a DSLR. I really do think that this camera from OBSBot is absolutely fantastic. So if you have any comments or questions, let me know. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to chuck a like, get subscribed, links to everything down below as well. Definitely going to be on my list of recommendations, this camera, for anyone that's into streaming or content creating or just wanting a better camera. So honestly, I'm just absolutely blown away. This is such a good camera. Hopefully, guys, I'll see you in the next one, and thanks for watching. Cheers.